So now that Epic Universe is open, there are currently 9 major theme parks open in Central Florida. And since I spend quite a lot of time at all of them, I get asked constantly, what's your favorite park? Or how would you rank all of the parks? And I've never really had a good answer to that because it's such a complicated issue. Every park is good in their own ways. And so I kind of want to rank the parks in a bunch of different categories. And this should also help explain how Epic compares to all the other parks around here. Now we're only going to be talking about the 4 Disney parks, the 3 Universal parks, and the 2 SeaWorld parks, including Busch Gardens Tampa. Because as far as I'm concerned, Busch Gardens Tampa is basically part of the Orlando theme park family. It's close enough. So to start off, I want to rank the parks by their rides, but I'm going to be breaking them down into 3 separate categories between their thrill rides, their medium sort of family rides, and then the gentle rides. So let's start out with just the big thrill rides. And can you guess what the number 1 park for thrill rides is? This one does get a little bit debatable, but I'm putting number 1 as Busch Gardens Tampa. And that's mainly thanks to Iron Gwazi, let's be honest. But they've also got Montu, Kumba, Sheikra, Cheetah Hunt. I mean, everything in this park is pretty intense. But I am giving second place to SeaWorld and third place to Islands of Adventure. Now, I know a lot of people want to put Islands of Adventure at number 1, but since they've only got like 2.5 really intense coasters, it really can't compete with the numbers that Busch Gardens and SeaWorld have. And I mean, you really can't count out SeaWorld with Mako, Manta, Kraken, and now with Pipeline and Icebreaker. Like, they might not be quite as crazy as Hulk or Velocicoaster, but they just have so much more of it. But then in 4th place, we've got Epic Universe, and that's almost entirely thanks to Stardust Racers, which I guess you can call 2 really intense coasters. They do have a few other really good coasters in the park too, but they're mostly pretty mild. In 5th place, I gotta give it to Universal Studios, because they've got Rip Ride Rockit and Mummy, which are both pretty intense. And then followed by that, we got Hollywood Studios, basically just for Rock and Roller Coaster. And number 7, we got Magic Kingdom, basically just for Tron and Space Mountain. And I mean, maybe you could count Big Thunder and Seven Dwarfs, which is a little bit more than Animal Kingdom has with just Expedition Everest. And then at number 9, we've got Epcot, which basically doesn't have any major thrill rides. You could kind of count Cosmic Rewind. I might weigh that more in the next category. I guess you could also count Mission Space. I always forget that ride is there because I would barely even call that a ride. It's more like a torture simulator. And then, oh yeah, Test Track. I forgot all about that too because it's been closed for the past year. And to be honest, I've never actually ridden it. It closed before I moved here. So that is the ranking for the thrill rides. But now we move into the medium rides. Now, medium rides can really mean a lot of things, to where it's like, it's not as intense as the thrill coasters, but it's still maybe too much for some little kids or some old people. You know, stuff like some water rides or some simulator rides or even some family coasters. And so number 1, I'm actually giving to Epic Universe in this category. And the best way I would describe it is that Epic seemed like they were trying to make a park where every ride is tailored to the average park goer. There's not a lot of super intense stuff, but there's also like no kiddie rides in this park either. They kind of wanted all of the rides to be for as many people as possible. And so when you got like Battle at the Ministry and Monsters Unchained and then everything at Super Nintendo World, it's like almost everything in this park is just meant for general audiences. But then in 2nd place, I'm actually giving it to Hollywood Studios, which also kind of plays by that same rule too, where you got Rise of the Resistance and Runaway Railway and Tower of Terror and all the Toy Story stuff. Like a lot of great family rides. In 3rd place, I gotta give it to Islands of Adventure, where even after like their extreme thrill coasters, they've got a lot of good medium rides too. Between Forbidden Journey and their 3 water rides, plus Spider-Man, plus King Kong, like Islands actually has quite a lot of stuff in the medium and the extreme side. Next up, I'm actually giving it to Animal Kingdom, because again, a lot of their stuff lands right in the middle. Between Flight of Passage and Dinosaur and Kilimanjaro Safari, I actually have to put in the medium ride category because, let's be honest, that ride is just as rough as Dinosaur sometimes. And then they've also got their water ride too. In 5th place for the medium rides, I gotta give it to Universal Studios. Now, Universal Studios probably has the largest number of medium scale rides, just because like half the park is simulator rides. But most of the rides here kind of all feel the same. But you could put like Minions and Jimmy Fallon and Fast and the Furious and Simpsons and Gringotts and Men in Black. Like there's just so many rides in this category for this park. But none of them are super amazing. Underneath that, we've got Epcot, which I guess now we can include Cosmic Rewind as being sort of a medium ride. And that one ride definitely carries this whole park. In 7th place, I gotta give it to Magic Kingdom, which is very close to Epcot as far as medium rides. You could swap them out. But again, for their like smaller family coasters, I would say that Seven Dwarfs and Big Thunder Mountain are probably the only medium rides I can think of there. And then I guess maybe Barnstormer. But like Space Mountain and Tron are kind of more on the extreme side. But in 8th place, I gotta give it to Busch Gardens because this park is very top heavy. It does not have a lot of medium scale rides. Like maybe you could count like Cobra's Curse or Serengeti Flyer, but even those are kind of more on the extreme side. And then in last place, I gotta give it to SeaWorld for the same reason. They have a lot of really extreme coasters, but on the medium end, they've got, what, Penguin Trek? But now into the final ride category, being gentle rides, and things get all sorts of flipped around. So can you guess what the number 1 park for gentle rides is? If it wasn't already obvious, it's Magic Kingdom, because almost every ride in that park is a gentle ride, whether it's Pirates of the Caribbean or Haunted Mansion Mansion or People Mover or Jungle Cruise or Peter Pan. Like, it is pretty difficult to find a ride in this park that your grandma can't ride. But a close second place actually has to go to Epcot, because again, a lot of the stuff in this park is just very gentle. Half the stuff at Epcot doesn't even feel like a ride. But you've got like Spaceship Earth and Living with the Land, and then like Frozen, Grand Fiesta Tour, stuff like that. Now after these two, there's quite a big drop off, because these two parks are just full of gentle rides, and then all of the other parks around here don't have very many at all. So at third place I had to give it to Animal Kingdom, mainly just because of Navi River Journey, and then also that train that takes you out to like the petting zoo, but it's still nowhere near the amount that Magic Kingdom or Epcot have. And then in fourth place I give it to Islands of Adventure, mainly just because of Seuss Landing. I guess you could count like the Seuss Trolley and the Carousel as being pretty gentle, followed by Epic Universe in fifth place, basically just for the Yoshi People Mover ride and their carousel, and then maybe their water ride. I guess that's pretty gentle. In sixth place I'll give it to Busch Gardens. We're kind of scraping the bottom of the barrel here because they have a train and they have some kiddie rides, so that's about it. And then SeaWorld's no better. They've got some kiddie rides and then maybe a Sky Tower. It kind of feels like SeaWorld and Busch Gardens were both built like, alright, we're gonna give you some extreme coasters. If you can't handle that, just go look at the animals. And then in eighth place we got Universal Studios, which the only gentle ride there I can think of is E.T. Even the Minions rides aren't super relaxed. And then in last place I give it to Hollywood Studios, which I can't think of a single ride in that park that I would consider a gentle ride. They've got a lot of shows, which is a different category, but yeah, almost everything in Hollywood Studios is like at least a little bit rough. Alright, we're done talking about rides for now. Let's jump into the next category, and that will be exploration. And what I really want to get at with this category is like, when you walk into a park, how easy is it for you to just get lost? Just running around exploring things, finding cool little hidden parts of the park. So the number one park I'm going to put for exploration is Epcot. And if you've ever been there, you probably know what I mean. When you've got like a dozen different country pavilions all around this huge lake, each one of them has like a bunch of different shops, and you feel like you're just constantly wandering like, where does this lead me? I mean, I've been to Epcot over 40 times now, and there are still little parts of that park that I'm finding for the first time. And the World Showcase is only half of it. There's stuff in the northern part of the park that I'm still finding too. Second place for exploration I'm giving to Animal Kingdom, which again, I feel like there's still pathways in Animal Kingdom that I've probably never even walked down. This park actually feels like it's designed like a maze sometimes. You'll just see a pathway through the trees and you're like, I don't know where this goes, but let's just go find out. And I think that's something really cool that some of the Disney parks do. And third place, I'm actually giving this one to SeaWorld, because this park is actually laid out in kind of a funky way. Like, it took me a long time to not get lost in this park just because of how weird the pathways wrap around each other. But if you just kind of wander for a while, you'll stumble across like a lot of hidden little animal exhibits. I mean, it feels really cool when you wander into the Wild Arctic Tunnel and there's just nobody in there. And then it's just like this dark tunnel with a bunch of like Arctic sea creatures. Now, after SeaWorld, I've got to give it to Islands of Adventure here. Now, it's kind of hard to get lost at Islands because it is just one big route around the whole lake. But you'll find that there's quite a few like secret little pathways, like especially going up to the water, where you can just find your own little secluded spot and have a great view of the lake. And because there's also so many abandoned parts of this park, it's kind of cool to wander around Lost Continent and go check out the old stadium and Poseidon's Fury. And then after Islands, I got Busch Gardens, which is very similar to Islands in that it's one big loop around the center. But this one seems to have a lot of little hidden pathways to find all of the different animals. And there's a lot of little cool animal feeding areas if you know where to look. Then in sixth place, I got Magic Kingdom, which it's kind of hard to put this one in because there's just so many people everywhere that it's pretty hard to find a spot that there isn't, except for Tom Sawyer Island. That is a pretty cool place to be able to just take a raft and then wander around this little island. And it's usually pretty quiet over there. Unfortunately, it's going away very soon, so this ranking's gonna get bumped down soon. After that, we've got Hollywood Studios, which I guess you could say is kind of interesting to just be wandering from one completely unrelated IP to the next. You definitely see a lot of changes of scenery, and you can find some less populated parts of the park to go hang out at. And then second to last, we got Universal Studios, because I think this park is intentionally made very wide open because it needs to be able to handle huge crowds for all the events there. But then I hate to say it, but last place goes to Epic Universe. Now, if you've actually been to Epic, let me know if you feel the same way, because I definitely feel like it's impossible to get lost in this park, because you got the whole central hub, which is so wide open with like almost no trees, so you can see from anywhere to anywhere. And then each of the lands are so small that it's impossible to get lost in them. And the way I describe the way Epic is laid out is that there's a lot of really cool stuff to see, but it's all front and center. There really is no wandering into some little secret areas. The park was designed much more efficiently so that it's easy to find things rather than getting to explore things. All right, let's talk about who's on top for the food in the parks. Now, number one should be very obvious to anyone who goes to these parks. Number one will go to Epcot. I mean, there's really no competition. Epcot has like 50 restaurants, anything from a $5 snack to a $250 meal. And then add festivals on top of it, and you got 20 more food booths. So you're never gonna have a hard time finding food at this park. But in second place, I'm actually giving this one to Epic Universe. You can tell that Universal was like really trying hard to make sure the food in this park was great. And I've eaten at more than half of the restaurants at Epic Universe, and I really liked all of them. It's a lot higher quality than you'll usually see from theme park food. However, the major compromise there is that this is probably the most expensive theme park food I've ever seen too. So just be prepared when you go to Epic. Just know that every restaurant feels like kind of a high-end restaurant. In third place, I'm actually putting Hollywood Studios, and that's thanks to all of the different themed sit-down dining places. It's taken a while, but I have been trying a few of the different restaurants around the park, and they have been actually pretty good. Like the Sci-Fi Diner is pretty cool. The Roundup Rodeo barbecue place is pretty good. Mama Melrose was really good before it got taken away. But overall, this park has a lot more restaurants than I expected. In fourth place, I'm actually giving it to Magic Kingdom, which is kind of a weird one because at Magic Kingdom, you'll find a lot of quick service places that are almost all pretty bad. But then all of the sit-down places are all like really high-end. So when you go to Magic Kingdom, you can either spend $15 on some crap food, or you can spend like $60 on a nice meal. There's almost nothing in between. But I will say that some of the sit-down restaurants I've tried there have been pretty decent, even though they might not be worth the cost. At fifth place for food, I'm giving it to Islands of Adventure, mainly because of Mythos. I think that this was a really good restaurant. They also have a handful of pretty good snack stands around the park too that I would say are pretty decent. Followed by Universal Studios, which also just has a bunch of different kinds of restaurants around the park. But most of the time I eat at Universal Studios is only during the holiday events when they have food booths out. In seventh place, I'm giving it to Animal Kingdom. And I know people are gonna say like, oh, the sit-down restaurants there are so good. And maybe some of them are. I've just never really gotten the chance to try them because Animal Kingdom basically is never even open for dinner. And when you show up after like 4 o'clock, they basically shut down almost every food spot in the park. And so it's actually really hard for me to ever try food in the park. So maybe this one does belong a little bit higher if I actually got time to try them. But still, I haven't really loved everything I've tried there. Then for the bottom two in this category, I'm just gonna put SeaWorld and Busch Gardens because they're both not very great. They're very expensive and it is just theme park food. They both have a pretty good barbecue spot, but it is the most expensive. And I will give the edge to SeaWorld because they do have that underwater restaurant, which I've never tried, but it looks pretty cool. But these two parks are really not known for their food. But for the next category, let's talk about the shows. I mean, you would not believe how many different live shows I've seen around here in the past year. And I would say the number one park for shows has got to be Hollywood Studios, which makes sense. I mean, the park is based around movies, so they put a lot of shows in the park. And they just barely added the new Villain show, the Little Mermaid show. They've also got the Beauty and the Beast show, the Frozen show, the Mickey Vacation show, the Indiana Jones show. Like, there's just so many shows in this park that it's hard not to put it at number one. But I'm actually giving number two to Epic Universe again in this one. Now, Epic's only got the two shows, the Wizarding World show and the How to Train Your Dragon show. But both of these shows are extremely high quality. Like, these are both probably some of the most impressive shows out of any of the ones I've seen. I don't want to spoil too much, so just go to the park and check them out. Number three, I'm going to put Universal Studios because they have quite a few shows over there too. They got the Animal Actors, the Horror Makeup Show, and the Born Stuntacular. And they also do a bunch of concerts throughout the year, but I don't know that you can really count that. Number four, I'm going to go with SeaWorld. I mean, SeaWorld kind of started just from their shows, from their Orca show, their Dolphin show, their Sea Lion show. I mean, to be honest, I think that the animal shows at SeaWorld are not that exciting. I've seen each one maybe like 2 or 3 times, but I kind of feel like they're all just the same show. The only reason I wanted to put SeaWorld this high is because a lot of their holiday shows are actually really good too. Next up, I'm actually putting Animal Kingdom. I think they only have the 2 shows, just the Finding Nemo show and the Lion King show, which I finally saw the Lion King for the first time yesterday on like my 24th visit to the park. And I mean, they're both decent shows, I guess, if you're just looking for a spot to sit down. Sixth place, I'm actually giving it to Magic Kingdom. It's kind of hard to say if shows like, Hall of Presidents or PhilharMagic or like Carousel of Progress really counts as a show, because I feel like people don't really go in there to watch the show. I think they just go in there to take an afternoon nap. But you definitely have to give credit to Magic Kingdom for all the parades they put on too. Then 7th place, I'm giving to Epcot. And I mean, they do have like that Beauty and the Beast thing and the France thing, and then that Pixar animated thing, and then also that like Awesome Planet show, as well as like the Few and the World Showcase. But I feel like most of the shows in Epcot are just like, you're just sitting there to watch a movie. They're not really anything that special. Then in 8th place for shows, I'm gonna give it to Busch Gardens. I can't actually think of many shows that they do. I mean, I did see an ice skating show there last week, week, so they do stuff here and there, but on an average day, they probably don't have much going on. It's mostly like weekends they'll put on something more interesting. And then in last place for shows, I'm giving it to Islands of Adventure, because they got 2 stadiums in that park, and both of them have been abandoned for years. So yeah, Islands, you deserve to be in last place just for that. Alright, this next category is going to get a little bit controversial, because I am ranking the park beauty. How well is the park decorated? How nice does everything look? So this is one where opinions are probably going to differ quite a bit. And also let me just say that all of the parks in Florida look amazing. All 9 of these parks look better than most Six Flags parks ever will. So for number 1 in park beauty, I'm actually giving to Magic Kingdom. I just think that Magic Kingdom is like the perfectly crafted theme park. Like everything was just designed to look perfect. And you just have so much variety from Adventureland to Tomorrowland to Fantasyland. However, with Magic Kingdom removing the Rivers of America very soon, I think this one might get bumped down a little bit. Followed closely by Epcot though. Epcot and Magic Kingdom feel like a big step above all of the other parks around here, just as far as like how well groomed everything is. I mean, Epcot will just come out and plant 1 million flowers for the season, and I just love so many of the areas around the World Showcase. Like this is just a really great looking park. Third place I'm giving to Animal Kingdom, which I feel like a lot of people would probably put that at number 1. Animal Kingdom's cool because you feel like you're just walking through a jungle everywhere. There's so much nature, and there's also just so many like wild animals running around. Like while I was there yesterday, I see like ducks, squirrels, and rabbits just like running past my feet all the time. In 4th place, I'm actually going to give to Islands of Adventure. So I think that what makes Islands of Adventure such a beautiful park is that when you walk in the front entrance and you walk up to the lake, you can just see all of the different parts of the park, all of the different islands. So with Islands at 4th place, I'm actually putting Epic Universe at 5th place. Like Epic Universe looks very different than every other park. I think this park will probably look better in the coming years once the trees grow in, but as of right now, it just kind of looks a little barren. Next up, we're putting SeaWorld. I think it's kind of hard for major parks to rank well in this category that don't have a big lake in the middle. And I think that SeaWorld has one of the best looking lakes out of all of the parks. And it's really cool that you just have that boardwalk that goes across the middle of it. SeaWorld is great for the whole tropical island theming. And then I'm putting Busch Gardens next, which is kind of like Animal Kingdom, but just not quite as pretty. For one, there's no rivers or lakes in it. But for the bottom 2 in park appearances, I'm actually giving to Universal Studios and Hollywood Studios at the very bottom, for both very similar reasons. I just feel like the whole backstage warehouse theming is not all that impressive. And I know that Universal has Diagon Alley and that Hollywood Studios has Galaxy's Edge, and both of those are pretty cool looking parts of the park, but they feel so out of place with everything else that's going on. So both of these parks just feel very disjointed, like they don't really know what direction to take it. But all of the park appearance stuff I've talked about mainly just applies to daytime. So now let's rank the nightlife at each of these parks. Now, I'm actually giving rank 1 here to Epic Universe, but with a big asterisk next to it. Now, Epic is designed very well to have lighting all over the park, and their nighttime show is actually amazing to see all of the lights around the park just coordinated, making patterns. And if they actually put together a regular fireworks show, like the one that they did for the media opening previews, then this really will be the best nighttime park in Orlando, hands down. However, without a fireworks show, it's kind of up in the air right now. But even without the fireworks show, this park really looks great at night. In 2nd place, I'm giving this one to Magic Kingdom, and that's because Magic Kingdom is just reliably the latest one open pretty much every single night. While every other park is closed by like 8 or 9 p.m., Magic Kingdom's always go until 10, sometimes 11. They also have the biggest fireworks show, and this park does not empty out until after closing time. Like people are there as late as possible. In 3rd place, I'm giving to Epcot because they're open till 9 p.m. every day. Epcot might be the only park I've ever seen that has the exact same park hours basically every day of the year. It's 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., and I don't think I've ever seen it shift from that. But this park really turns into a party every night because everyone comes out to drink and watch fireworks. And their fireworks show, Luminous, is also really amazing. In 4th place, I'm going to give to Hollywood Studios because they are also open till 9, sometimes 9:30 or 10, and they actually have a couple different nighttime shows. There's a projecting one in the center courtyard, and then also Fantasmic. And both of those shows are alright. I would say neither one is anywhere near as good as Luminous or Happily Ever After, but they're worth checking out if you're there late. Now, in 5th place for nightlife, this is another kind of weird one, as I'm putting Universal Studios in here, and it's weird because this park is very inconsistent throughout the year. Like, there's a lot of days in the year where it closes at 6 p.m. The sun is still overhead, and they're kicking everybody out of the park. But other times, particularly around Mardi Gras and Halloween Horror Nights, this is easily the best nighttime park, but we'll talk more about that in the holidays category. Also with Universal Studios, they do a big projection show for a lot of the year called Cinesational, where there's like a little bit of fireworks, maybe some drones. So, I mean, they're trying, but I feel like they just do not have the space to put on anything grand. They do not have the clearance to do like a Happily Ever After kind of show. So in 6th place, I'm going to put SeaWorld, which again is kind of inconsistent. They close close at 6 p.m. for a lot of the year, but then other times they're open till 9 or 10. And I actually really love SeaWorld's nighttime fireworks show during the summer. SeaWorld's summer show might be my favorite show in Florida, and I'm really excited to go back and watch it every week again. Next up is Islands of Adventure, which has a little bit of a nightlife. They usually close around the same time as studios. The only nighttime show they really do is the Hogwarts Castle projections, which kind of comes and goes throughout the year. They do very minimal fireworks with it. In 8th place for nightlife, I'm giving to Busch Gardens, which, I mean, during the summer, Busch Gardens does a pretty good nighttime show as well, but for most of the year, again, they just kind of close pretty early. They don't do a whole lot of stuff. And then last place in nightlife definitely goes to Animal Kingdom, and I feel very passionately about this one. Animal Kingdom closes at 6 p.m. pretty much all year, and even before the park closes, most of the animal stuff and most of the restaurant stuff is closed by like 4 p.m. So Animal Kingdom is basically the anti-nightlife park. I almost exclusively only go to parks in the evenings, and I can say that Animal Kingdom is probably my least favorite because of that. Okay, the next category is crowd management. How busy do these parks get, and how good are these parks at handling the busy crowds? Number one, very easily, is Magic Kingdom. I mean, Magic Kingdom is the most visited theme park in the whole world. It gets an insane amount of people there every single day, and like, I am amazed by like the team members' ability to just wrangle people, especially right before the fireworks when you got thousands of people all pouring into one spot. The team members are just like, yep, just another day. We know exactly where to put people, where to move them around, where to just like prevent stampedes and stuff like that. And then Magic Kingdom rides also have some of the best capacity in the world too. Like Haunted Mansion and People Mover both can take like 2,000 or 3,000 people per hour. Like they know there's so many people in that park that they need to get people moving through really quick. Or if you go over to Tron and you see how much time it takes between each train, they will send a train out every 27 seconds, which is just mind-blowing. And one thing I really love about Magic Kingdom is that if you happen to show up on an extra busy day where all of the lines are really long, there's still always like a couple rides off in the corner that just you can still walk onto. You know, whether it's People Mover or Carousel of Progress or Tom Sawyer Island or Hall of Presidents. Like, they're not really the most exciting things to do, but at least you can do something. It just sucks when you're in the middle of a park day and everything you see is like over an hour wait, and it just feels like none of it is worth it. In second place for crowd management, I'm giving to Universal Studios because, like I said, they like to host big events here, and when you've got, 20,000 people who show up to watch a concert, they need to be able to funnel people where they need to go. I would say this park doesn't have the greatest ride capacity like Magic Kingdom does, but it is still designed to hold an insane amount of people, mainly for Horror Nights and Mardi Gras. In third place, I'm giving to Epcot. I mean, this place is just gigantic. It's kind of hard to find real numbers for like park size because you never really know what parts of the park count and which ones don't, but Epcot feels like the biggest park. It just takes so long to walk from one side to the other, and so it can just handle tons of people in it. In fourth place, I'll give it to Islands of Adventure. Again, it's just a pretty large park with just a lot of rides, and they also have Hagrid's, which is probably the most popular roller coaster in Florida, and they do their very best to make sure that that line keeps moving forever. Next up, we have Hollywood Studios, which starts to go downhill a little bit. It is pretty common to show up to this park and have the lines of everything be just way too long. I mean, I was saying with Magic Kingdom how at least there are a couple rides off to the sides that have no waits, but with Hollywood Studios, it feels like every ride is just always busy. But below that, I'm actually giving it to Epic Universe. Epic is definitely still trying to figure out how much crowds they can handle. We saw that the first 3 days after opening, they capped attendance really hard and there were not very many people in the park and everything worked just fine. But right after that, they opened the floodgates and all hell broke loose. This park really does not handle massive crowds very well because a lot of the capacity isn't very good on the rides. I mean, there's plenty of space for people to be walking around the pathways, but most of that space is in Celestial Park where there's nothing to do. And so people are always like crammed into the little lands, and it can get a little bit ugly. Next up, I would say Animal Kingdom. And part of that is because the park isn't really that big. At least the walking areas aren't that big, so it can't handle so many people. But also, there's just not very many rides in this park either. There's only like 6 rides in this whole park. And so yeah, it's not uncommon for all 6 of them to be an hour plus. And then for 8th place in this one, I have to give to SeaWorld. Yeah, let's be honest, SeaWorld is just not up to the same standard of Disney and Universal when it comes to like crowd management. They can't handle as many people, their ride ops are a lot slower. And then in 9th place, we got Busch Gardens, which same deal. Busch Gardens has some really horrible ride ops sometimes. Like Iron Gwazi might be one of the slowest moving lines of any roller coaster. All right, we only have a few more categories. Are you tired of listening to me talk yet? The next category is all about the holiday events. How much do the parks change throughout the year and hold special events? Now, number one easily has to go to Universal Studios just for Mardi Gras, Halloween Horror Nights, and the Christmas celebration. It is not even close. This park does so much, which is good because there's not a whole lot going on in this park outside of the holiday events, so I feel like they just save all of their energy once the season rolls around. But yeah, Halloween Horror Nights is one of the busiest theme park experiences you'll ever see, and there's just so much extra unique content associated with it too. Second place I'm actually giving to Busch Gardens here. They also do a really good Halloween event. They got 5 original haunted houses. They do a few pretty good Halloween shows, and then they also have a pretty good Christmas season too. So yeah, Busch Gardens around holidays can be pretty good, and same with SeaWorld too. SeaWorld's got their 5 haunted houses and a few shows. Actually, I think SeaWorld's Halloween show, the Monster Stomp, is one of my favorites too. In fourth place, I gotta give to Magic Kingdom. Technically, Magic Kingdom does holiday events, but they're a lot different than like Universal's. Because at Universal, it's more like, hey, here's a whole bunch of brand new content for you to do for this season. We're gonna have concerts or haunted houses or parades, but it's mostly included with regular tickets. And if it's not, you can get a season pass to the Halloween stuff. But at Magic Kingdom, you got the Halloween parties between August and October, and then you've got the Christmas parties from November and December. And these parties don't include a whole lot of special stuff, let's be honest. It's basically just, here's the park, but at night. And here's some extra treats you can try while you're here. But you're usually paying like a full day ticket price just to spend one night there, and there's no season passes. There's not a whole lot of unique content other than maybe some meet and greets and parades. So that's why I have to give the edge to SeaWorld and Universal over this one. But then in fifth place, I'll give it to Epcot, which Epcot's a weird one because Epcot doesn't really celebrate, Halloween and Christmas. Epcot just kind of creates its own holidays. So the park changes a lot throughout the year, but it's more just like, here's 3 months of a festival. Then here's another 3 months of another festival. And I mean, I have to give them credit. The festivals are pretty fun. It's nice to have like a bunch of new food items to try and everything. But they don't really do a whole lot for just the traditional holidays. Then next up is Hollywood Studios, which is very similar to Magic Kingdom, how it's just like an after-hours Christmas event. It's called Jollywood Nights. It's really not that special. If you've already been to the park 100 times, it's really hard to justify buying a ticket for it. And now the bottom 3, we've got Islands of Adventure, which they don't do hardly any holiday stuff because all the holiday stuff's over at Studios. Really all they've got is the different Hogwarts projection shows, as well as meeting the Grinch around Christmas. And then below that is Animal Kingdom, which I gotta say the only thing I've even noticed at Animal Kingdom that they did seasonally was like a nighttime projection show on the tree during Christmas. But that's really all it was. There's no fireworks, there's no drones. And then in last place I put Epic Universe, which obviously has a big asterisk next to it because we haven't seen a full year of what Epic is gonna do. But again, I think that Universal is very invested in putting all their holiday stuff at Universal Studios. Epic will probably just put up some decorations throughout the year at most. Definitely don't expect Halloween Horror Nights to ever come to Epic. However, there is one silver lining to Epic. From what I've heard, there's a ton of backstage areas around Epic, and it could be very possible for them to move a lot of the backstage areas from Studios over to the Epic area, which could leave more space over in Studios to host more Halloween Horror Nights houses. I have no idea if this is actually going to happen, but it would be pretty cool if we had like 12 or 13 houses one year. Okay, let's look at the category of modernity. Basically just how high-tech and fresh does the park feel? And to no surprise, number 1 is Epic Universe. Epic is the only park that's opened in the last 25 years, so every single ride in it is brand new. All of the rides are very high-tech to the point where a lot of them are breaking down constantly. I think they went a little bit too ambitious with a couple things. Then in rank 2, I guess I'll give it to Islands of Adventure, because Velocicoaster and Hagrid's are both very high-tech modern rides. Third place I'd give to Epcot because Cosmic Rewind is just great. Epcot always feels like they're constantly updating things, trying to keep it as modern as possible. The next spot I'm actually going to give to SeaWorld because so many of their new rides have been built in just the last few years. They've got a brand new surf coaster. They got that brand new like Soarin' Theater. They got the brand new Penguin Trek. It feels like a lot of things in this park they are trying to really innovate. Then I guess I'd put Universal Studios because they've also added a handful of rides in recent years. And their screen-based rides do feel like they are pretty high-tech. Below that I'd put Hollywood Studios. Rise of the Resistance feels very high-tech, but a lot of the rest of the park, like Rock and Roller Coaster, feels really outdated. Tower of Terror feels a bit old. Next down the list I'd give to Busch Gardens. Just like SeaWorld, they've been adding a handful of unique coasters lately. Then below that we've got Animal Kingdom, which outside of the Pandora area, everything in this park feels like it's pretty old. Like Everest and Dinosaur feel kind of old. Dinoland is all gone. This park is definitely getting a big facelift right now as they're trying to like flush out a lot of the old stuff. But then in last place for modernity is Magic Kingdom, which is fine. I mean, this park is very old-fashioned. The first time I went to this park, I was just like, every ride here feels like it's like 50 years old. There's just all these these like really creaky animatronics everywhere, but it's alright. It has its charm. The one point it has for modernity is Tron. That's really the only part of the park that doesn't look like it's super old. Alright, now the ranking all comes down to one last category, and this is probably the most important category. This is how enjoyable is a one-day experience at this park. If you only had one day in Orlando and you could only visit one park, this is how I would rank the combination of the quality plus the quantity of each park. And this one I'm actually going to rank worst to best, just to build up a little bit. In last place, in ninth place, I'm giving to Animal Kingdom. It should be kind of obvious for the reasons I've stated through this video. There's not a whole lot of rides, and the operating hours are really short, so there's a reason that a lot of people call this a half-day park. Not saying that you can't enjoy a full day out of it, but you're really going to have to take your time here. Second to last place would be SeaWorld. Now, I really enjoy going to SeaWorld for about 1 hour. The thing about SeaWorld is that they've got 3 shows and then like 6 roller coasters, which sounds great, but the shows all kind of feel the same, and even the roller coasters all kind of feel the same too. They're all just big, non-themed thrill coasters, which is totally fine for what it is. And I love that this park rarely has big crowds, so I can just show up and ride all the coasters in an hour. But in the few times where I've like gone with somebody and I spend like 4 hours in the park, I'm just like, holy cow, why are we still here? This is way too long to be spending at SeaWorld. In 7th place, I gotta give it to Universal Studios. Unfortunately, this park just does not have the greatest ride lineup. It has more quality stuff than SeaWorld does. There's a lot more theming, and you get a lot more variety. Diagon Alley is really fun to explore. Above that, I gotta give it to Hollywood Studios. You know, I'm so conflicted with Hollywood Studios because they got a great ride lineup, they got great restaurants and great shows, but for some reason I still just don't really like the park that much. I guess part of it is, like I was saying, how it's way too common for you to be in the park. You feel like you're blocked out of everything there is to do because every single thing in the park has an hour wait. So it's like it has a lot of cool stuff there, but a lot of the cool stuff is not that redoable. Next up the list, I'm going to give it to Busch Gardens Tampa. Now because Busch Gardens is so far away, I usually have to spend 5 or 6 hours in the park at least. And I rarely have too much issue doing that, actually. Their coaster lineup is pretty good. There's a lot of animals to see. It feels like SeaWorld, but just bigger, I guess. Above Busch Gardens, I'd give it to Epcot, which if you're looking for thrills, you're going to have a hard time being entertained all day. But this park is just so explorable. There's so much to see. There's so much to eat. And I'd almost describe Epcot as like the theme park for people who don't like theme parks, because it feels so different from a traditional theme park in so many ways. Next up the list, I give it to Magic Kingdom, solely for the just absolute quantity of stuff there is to do in this park. Magic Kingdom has by far the most rides out of any of the parks. It also just has tons of restaurants, tons of things to see, and it is really hard to get everything done in one day at this park. This park will probably keep you the busiest out of any of them. In second place, I'm giving it to Islands of Adventure. Just a very well-rounded, solid park. Lots of thrill rides, lots of medium rides. Everything in the park feels pretty high quality, which means the number one park that I think you should spend your day in would be Epic Universe. I know that might sound crazy, but I think Epic has just the highest overall average quality of everything in the park. And you've got everything from some of the best dark rides you'll ever see, to the best roller coaster you'll ever see, to some of the best family rides and some of the best theming. So I actually do think that Epic probably is the most enjoyable park in Florida right now. And it only took me however long this video is to say that. So the next time somebody asks me what my favorite park is, I'm just gonna link them to this video.